there, everybody. And hi, little Miss Abby. How are you?
Hi, Heidi. Hi, everybody. How you guys doing?
We are very happy you came to join us again. And today it's just Abby and I, and we thought it would be nice to give you a little backstory on our mission here of doing this project, Raising Starseeds. But I think it's best if we start with what we think actually a starseed is. Miss Abby, do you have
Absolutely.
on that?
Yeah, we kind of hit it hard for the first couple episodes and bringing people on because we wanted to right off the bat know that we're not going to pretend that we're not going through the world that's all around us. But for this episode, we just wanted to step back for a minute to kind of ground us into the mission of our purpose of this podcast. And we're also going to give you a tidbit towards the end of some other ideas we have coming forward. But yeah, so we're going to hit right out the bat. I have some slides here of what is a starseed. And just one second.
I know too, if you feel you have a starseed child, you yourself, my friend, are a starseed.
Yes.
Let's come on there. There we go.
Okay. All right. So this first definition was a starseed. This is a pretty 3D based, you can research it and find it. What is a starseed? A soul who knows they have lived multiple lives in the higher dimensions amongst the stars and have moved beyond the 3D matrix veiled on Gaia. This next definition of starseed, Heidi, I do channeling, and this one actually came from a channel because whenever we have questions, I would like to ask the higher dimensions and see what they view this as. And they said, realizing you are a starseed is becoming aware we are infinite light beings who have chosen to express ourselves as a human incarnate for this specific time of energetic awakening on Gaia. Yes. So
I love that. I love that. That feels about right. I think many of us have agreed that, you know what, we came here at this time for this reason, pulling our bootstraps up, we got this. And our children, they themselves have agreed to come at this time as well.
they have. And, and we've covered before, we've said, if you have a starseed child, there's a greater chance that you are starseed yourself. And and there's multiple different versions of what you would call a starseed, outside of the different areas of the universe that you might come from. There's also they've kind of put us into these waves of starseeds that have been coming onto this planet. And the first one were the Indigo children. And they more so those people born in the 50s to the 80s. Those are the Indigos. Yep. I'm kind of like Indigo Crystal Cuss, but I feel more into the Indigo for sure. And, again, born in the 50s to the 80s. These were the people, they were the first to bring the concept of this massive shift in consciousness. And they're the ones who brought in all of connecting with the aura colors to our chakra colors. And especially with the Indigo, they express tightly within their third eye, that blue, the Indigo chakra. In these beings, they brought in truth, vision, clarity, and spiritual perseverance. So they really were, those Indigos are the first ones who are really bringing in anchoring in this awakening that we're seeing going on right now.
That we have a little more vast. You can think back too on like the 60s and 70s and 80s, just the era of what was happening. It's like, hey man, we're all human, we're all get along. Like they've just started to become a new way of thinking what your presence on this planet means in comparison to the whole planet.
I mean, absolutely. Look at how many different shifts, make love, not war, the age of Aquarius, all of that beautiful channeled music in the 60s into the early 70s. All of that bringing in, and they really did start to focus on the global awareness around as well, the Indigos. The second is the crystalline children. And those are from the 80s to early 2000s. And these are the children of the Indigos. They are more, when you see their auras, it's more of that crystal clear color.
Mm-hmm.
And they definitely feel an old soul. So,
Yes.
one thing about old souls is they often feel that they are alone.
Yeah.
That, I was speaking with a dimensional once, and they said that it's one of the cruelest illusions of this dimension is the feeling of being alone. You and I both know, and in the audience as well, especially if you have these starseed kids, we're never alone, ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're so surrounded by everything. The crystallines, they are the idealist generation.
Mm-hmm.
And they want a perfect world because they've been in other worlds that they can see what the potential is of this planet, and they brought that with them. They are breaking down those systems. It doesn't have to be this way. It can
Mm-hmm.
be another way because they've experienced it and lived it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And those third ones, those rainbow children, and those are from the early 2000s into now. These are all the new children that are coming. And I was fortunate enough, I did a reading on a rainbow child. I've seen that, and it was the most beautiful experience because they didn't come here with karma. They have no cords, nothing attached. Some of these rainbow children, they literally have come here just to be.
Oh,
They
just
wanted
to hold that light and anchor the light. Not to bring it dark, but now it should make some sense to some people why, like, the agendas of like medical apartheid and the Max agenda, why that got so heavy at these certain times, because all of these beings were coming in. So there was this agenda to maim these beings before they were able to fully and activate. But for that being said, I think the children choosing to be at that time, they're our biggest teachers, and they had to go through those lessons for us to wake up as well. So we thank them for that. Do you know what I mean by that?
Oh no, well, if we really want to look back at history, look at the Roswell, and was towards the end of the 40s, beginning of the 50s. That's when Eisenhower was signing those agreements, galactics, and it's because they knew that we were coming here. And some of the darker factions, of the galaxy who have been controlling us, were feeling all of that light coming in. And then they came in and started making treaties.
Yeah.
With our
And
government.
then they infiltrated our systems and industries.
Yes.
But we're too powerful. The light always wins.
Yeah,
so we have rainbow children.
I know. Yes, these rainbow children. I have a Tibetan that is very close to me. He's been with me my whole entire life. And, I was speaking at a conference, oh my gosh, almost a year ago. And I asked him, what do you want me to say? Like, what would you want to share? And he said, we hijacked the system. And I said, please explain more. And he essentially said, we have a universal law, and they can't just show up here and help us. And this is the entire reason why we have a growing number of starseeds coming here. So he said they hijacked the system because back in the 30s, 40s, they were just physically coming down here trying to help, but it wouldn't work. They were breaking those universal laws because they were essentially taking away our free will because our species had not evolved to that state yet. So when he said they hijacked the system, was they realized if we incarnate, if we put ourselves into these physical avatars, which are living here now, and we sign, and I'm sorry, but there are proper contracts that our souls sign before we come down here. We plan out, the major timelines that we're going to expressing. And in that contract we signed, I'm going to get my memory back. Oftentimes as a child, when I was having experiences, they were always saying, you have to remember who you are. You have to remember who you are. Yeah. And that's how they did it, because once we remember who we are, then we can call out to our brothers and our sisters, because we are all family. It doesn't, just having a mom and a dad, or just being an American or Australian, or just being Canadian. We are all related. But then when we came here and got our memories back, we can ask them to come and help us, because they're no longer invading our free will, because our free will is asking them to come and not save us.
Right.
Never.
Right. That's a big thing. That's a big thing.
Yep.
And that's part, I think that's part of why that my journey's here, is I've tested that. And the results say they come and help. So I'm like, there's my mission. It started to grow. I could feel and sense and live the experience of that connection and how that changed my own trajectory. And so our mission. So we're based on our mission of getting these starseeds together, as well as starting the community of conversation for it. I think that's why we're stepping into this mission at this time. But I didn't want to dive into all that backstory just yet. That's just, it gets too much. The people's minds, they're going to explode.
Well, I mean, no, I love it. I love it, Heidi, because, through this, we, as we were just saying, we came down here with the agreement to have our memories come on board. And by doing that, if you're feeling alone and you're having these memories come on board and you don't have anyone to talk to, we're creating this village for people to come, for the parents. Oh my gosh, my kid just woke up and they're telling me all of these things and I don't know what to do with them. That's why we needed to create this community, this village for parents to come, and then eventually to grow, for the children to come and find each other. Because I don't know, a lot of us starseeds, and I know that you and I have talked about this before, but our children were kind of our awakening.
Oh yes. So yeah, let's go there. So some of my personal, little bit of my backstory has to do with my kids. So as a child myself, speaking of being alone, I was the kid you'd find on the playground sitting in a hollowed out tree because the energies, it was just too much. I didn't know what I was working with yet, and I was a sensitive, empathic child. But I was safe and comfortable, and I love watching people play. That being said, I had always had a little bit of tap into the spiritual world. I had a mom who took me to conferences when I was a kid. I was constantly like, my mom held little Course in Miracles classes in our house. Like we were around it. I saw Bigfoot and fairies, and she didn't dismiss it. She and I both were contactees and experiencers. There's those things. But then life happens, adulthood and moving to LA and, all that kind of stuff happens. But when I had my children, both of my children with the same father, they were conceived and they were birthed under complete duress. Their birth father, it wasn't that it wasn't created out of love. There were dark, nefarious forces around from the get-go. Drugs and alcohol. His personal lineage was very dark. I attended events at his family, their old school Armenian family, and I had mind wipes after. Like, there was some stuff going on. And then our home base, as the children came in, after the first one came in, he was he wasn't stepping into his mission of fatherhood. Let's just say that. And he was in and out of our life, and I allowed that to happen. I've learned that lesson, that I brought him in and out instead of just like go. But I knew I was supposed to have both those children. So my daughter, I started to wake up because I'm watching through their eyes now. Like, wait, this is very toxic around here. I'm getting super depressed. I'm drinking, like there was a lot going on, but I kept checking myself through their eyes. Like, whoa, snap out of it, Heidi. So the fog was clearing. This was clearing. By the time my son came around, when he was an infant, the night terrors started. And his terrors, when it started creeping into the daytime, where he was just fixated on something that was scaring him, and before he could even talk, it was alarming. It was a look in his eyes. He was somewhere else. I'm like, I'm going to take this from Laura Van Tyne. I love you, Laura Van Tyne. I wanted to get my family's souls back. I was realizing we're in trouble here. I've got to clear our home. I've got to clear our house. I've got to clear my field. I've got to work on this in different dimensions because I can't get to my kid and he's right in front of me. And so I started to go knee deep in not only my personal healing, but I started connecting the dots of human behavior and the ethereal and the multiple realms. And the work started with me. I had to put boundaries up. That was the biggest thing. I didn't realize I was living in such a home that was invaded. I started communicating with those that were doing clearings and doing work in that sense. They'd come over and they'd be like, whoa, like you live here? I was getting this all together so I could, like, putting my oxygen mask on first so I could then help my kids. And then when my son started speaking and stuff, not only was he seeing maybe even my grandpa, who I named him over, we had some funny situations with that, but he was able to tell me there's a lizard in my room. You know, there's a lizard face person is scaring me. And the way his face was and the terror, he wasn't kidding. These are not story time or movie kids, you know, plopped in front of the TV regurgitating a show. This was happening to him. So my spiritual armor began the more I healed myself. And then we literally took us physically moving home and cord cutting this biological father they have. And then my 42nd year, ironically, like the year of Jesus and things, was like my knuckle dragging knees on the, like I was a mess. Dark nights of the soul, finding out about pedogate, all those things. And there's my kids watching me go through this. So I had to be a way shower before I knew what that was. I had to get all my ducks in a row before I knew what I was doing. Like the change happened when I surrendered. I surrendered to, I allowed this to happen. You know, I made decisions and choices that got us to this place in the first place. And I really was like, these children chose to come through me. Like, holy smokes, I'm amazing. And I asked for help. I was on my knees. I was specific. I had snot pouring out, and I was not even like this. It's like, you know, show me, I'm here. I need assistance and help. I will protect my children. Like, I was loud, and I kid you not, my life unfolded in more ways than I could have ever dreamt in the highest vibrational way. And I continue. I don't look back. I continue to wake up, clear up, clean my field, help my kids. But it's because of those kids that is my mission to, holy smokes, there's something way bigger here than this 3D meat suit. Like, we're working with energy. And if I had not seen that terror in my son's eyes of knowing this is something bigger than me, then I wouldn't have done all this deep dive dirty work. Did that come out okay? This was an important story I wanted to share, but I wanted people to know a little backstory, because it's not like I've been Susie Homemaker and I'm going to make a child out of love right now and be this. I dramatically fell into roles time and again, and I'm stepping into this mission of embracing star children and my connection to my star family, because it's literally saved not only my life, but my kids' lives. So that's why I'm here. And then I meet the most galactic star sister I know, who's like, Heidi, I know you.
You know, I believe that is. I, met you on through social media. Well, I hadn't really met you. I just was listening to some of your stuff, and we were commenting together. And I did. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I was laying in bed. My husband's there, and I looked at him and I said, I know her. She's going to think I'm crazy right now, but I'm just going to reach out to her and say, can we do a Zoom chat?
You did, and we did. It was great.
Yep, we did. And, that's a whole other episode. As to our connection, it goes back decades, and we're still jointly trying to put all those pieces together. I have more of the pieces. I think
you do.
I think right now, but
he's patiently waiting for my memory recalls.
but we feel it. And, you know, and all those things, you know, thank you so much for sharing that story. I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, it shows a lot of growth when you're able to step out and step back from those dark moments in your timeline and be an observer of them versus being stuck in them and reliving them.
Oh yeah, the hamster, it was over and over and over. And I think the first moment of clarity is when I took ownership of making those decisions. I wanted to blame the biological dad, but I'm the one who chose to participate. You know, like you kind of have to take the power back, and then forgiveness to me is the ultimate surrender, and then let the healing begin. And then you really have to recognize the signs. When you ask for help from your galactics, you have to pay attention who shows up in your life, where you're guided, where you're not, when your school closes. You know, it does line up, and you have to trust with all your divinity, like, this is source communicating through me, and I got this. And you know, and so I think there's a lot of waves of these kids that are being born into families that have been on this pattern. They're not, you know, getting rid of that karmic debt. They're just coming in to shake things up without even shaking things up, by just being themselves.
Yep.
And I felt the call, and here you are. And I thought it was important too that audience knows that we come from other places when it comes to this. You know, we're new in it or born into it, or, you know, and that there's no one set path that you're on. You're not like, oh, I wasn't angelic as a child, or, you know, I'm still have, you know, addictions, or, you know, there's so many things, but in your soul of souls, you know what's true, you know what's right, and you know how to get there. Did I do another rant?
Well, you know, and one thing I want to mention, it was, you know, it'll be random times when I get guidance. I was actually out back picking weeds one day, and you know, my guides came in and they said, so many people get stuck in what was supposed to be their learning moment, their growth moment. They get stuck and make it their victim moment.
Yes, that's so good.
Yep. And you know, and they said, kind of like, why do they do that?
Yeah,
You know,
they're exhausting themselves.
yeah. And you know, and to look at your story and what you just presented, you very easily could have stayed and just wadded in I'm a victim of what has just happened in my life.
Oh, I did for a while. I mean, to me, it was a long while, but I look back and I'm like, it's a blip.
Yeah.
You know, it's a moment.
Yep. Sometimes
yes,
it's okay to sit in it. It's
yeah.
okay to sit in it. And the vast majority of us, we need to sit in it for a minute.
Yeah.
Before we can pull out, and then we look back and we send gratitude for it, because what did we learn from that? How did my soul grow in that moment? Because those soul growths, they're not limited to this one lifetime. Those growth moments carry us over for always. It gets embedded within our, I'm going to say DNA, but you know, our DNA is our soul. It gets embedded and then it carries on. And even you want to go look at the Akashics, you know, a lot of people will go and they'll do past life regression. Oh, I had a lifetime here and lifetime here. And some people say, okay, I've met like 20 people who have had a lifetime of Cleopatra. Obviously, this is all fake. This is what the Akashics are, though. Before you come down and you have a lifetime, you can go into the Akashics based on what you have lined up for yourself to experience and to grow from, and say, you know what? I've signed up to have this very, like, I think I'm going to be a military man, because I really want to understand the duality of two sides of battle, of war. But in order to do that, I'm going to download General Patton. I'm going to download Washington's A Lifetime in me. And you don't always have to pull down the entire lifetime. You can pull in aspects. Like, I want Washington's strategic thinking. I want Patton's bravery. And, you know, and this has all been taught to me by the higher dimensions, and that we can do that. We can pull out certain aspects of different soul lives and put them inside of us to help us through what we have signed up for. And so that is why you can have an experience where there's 20 people who have lived the life of Cleopatra. Well, it's because something in her life cycle, somebody needed to have that aspect to help them overcome something in this life. So for instance, I was doing a session and I was at throat chakra and I saw Abraham Lincoln's face and I heard the word speeches, speeches, speeches. And it's not that this person was Abraham Lincoln, but this person came here. It was a rainbow child here with a purpose to be very vocal. And they're going to be giving a lot of speeches. So they embedded in them the aspect of confidence and bravery that Lincoln had in his speeches that he gave.
Oh, wow. I love that.
You know, there's so many different aspects that to learn in this, I don't know, do you want to call it universe? What do you want to call it, Heidi? You know, there's just so
University universe. There's something there. There's something there.
University of the universe. There you go. I like that.
Yeah. You know what's a weird little tidbit and side note, and this is, I'm making my own little dot connection now, because we were talking about this mission of helping kids, and we feel like there's a past of a classroom and kids, and we're supposed to do this. Now, I've had a couple different Akashic sessions, and I went to these events, and different people told me the similar story. For thousands and thousands of lifetime, my womb was abused, and very Mary Magdalene energy, but my womb was abused and my life was cut short. These pregnancies turned out to be abusive. And I'm like, I feel like having gotten control of me mothering these children and me as a mother itself, I've already broken my track record. You know, I've nurtured my womb. I carried children to, you know, I have these children. I just feel like this dot connection of like, I'm supposed to be doing something with children. You know, like they were taking the children from me time and again, time and again. There's mine, and I want to help others now. It just feels like it's, this cord was released, you know, the dark cord. And so
yeah, that's, you know, that's something, another thing that Heidi and I have in common is the Magdalene line.
Yeah.
Within us. You know, it was really funny for my story. I actually didn't think I wanted children for the longest time. I actually had no problem viewing myself as someone who never had children. I would be very work focused and based. And I always saw my life
The universe is like, bam. Sorry, go ahead.
I know, yeah, I saw my life going in other two directions. I was either going to work in television media, and I was just going to be focused because I wanted to travel the world. I didn't want anything holding me back. And I saw that was my life cycle where I was never going to have children and just be focused because I wanted to be a storyteller. I've always had the mission of using my voice to connect people. The overriding mission of we are all one. That has always been very deep within me. You know, I've been a contactee since I could start talking. You know, and I talked about it with my family, just like your mom. My mother always had books in my house. I always had access to some of this information. I actually was talking with, you know, Tyler and Kate at ECETI, and I saw this book on the bookshelf when we were at ECETI, and it was Mysteries of the Unknown, and it was Time Life. I don't know if you guys ever remember those books, the Time Life books, and it was, one was UFOs and one was mysterious creatures. And so my mother bought those books, and I devoured them. They were like my Bible. I'm not trying to be sacrilegious, but they were my Bible.
No, that's so cool.
And I saw this book, and what was so funny was about 3 weeks prior to going to UCETI, they came in my mind. Like, God, you know, I wonder if my mom still has those books, because it was the UFO one. And it was 6 a.m. Everyone else is still asleep. And I'm like just zoning out. I look over, and I'd been looking at this bookshelf for 4 straight days. I look over, and there it is, just sitting on top. And I just started crying. I did. And it's, you know, it's those things that bring us back home. And because we've been talking a lot about our life mission, what we're here for. And so I found out Tyler also had these books when he was growing up. Kate had those books growing up. So many, and they had like so many of us. So we kind of made the joke, well, Tyler made the joke, are these are these books, you know, is there some type of channeling with those books in order for all of us Starseeds to find them?
Wake up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because it
I
was,
wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised because in that book it felt like home to me. Really
Aw.
did. It was
Yeah.
that world made sense to me because it was
Yeah.
what I was viewing and having these experiences at nighttime that I couldn't express words to.
Yeah, I see that my mom set me up a lot without knowing either. She started in the early 80s. We were in Portland, Oregon at that time. She just had one of those instances. This book kept coming to her and she's ignoring it until it literally finally fell on her head. And then she couldn't stop digesting information. And one was, I believe, Starseed Transmissions. Was that it? I have to pull it out and link it below. But I basically, when I moved to LA, I took some of her books, but she had marked them forever. She would just sit at night and it would come to her whatever she needed to learn. It turns out when I going through something and I pull one of her books and I just put it in my intention and I open it, it's exactly what I need to learn and it's highlighted. And I shared it on a Facebook post once and you wrote me on the side and you're like, I think we should talk. Like that. My mom talks to me like that too, or we have the same book. And I was like, really? Like it was one of our little, like, yeah, we got to do this. I think before even the conference, I'm like, yeah. And she didn't even know she was doing that at that time. You know, she's in her own time loops in a sense, but you know, there's
I mean, it was my mother was having her connecting the dots, aha moments as well. You know, her big book was Chariots of the God. Chariots of the God. That was her big book. And because religion had never really sat right with her and she didn't understand why. And so when she was reading that book, it really helped her connect those dots. And so we had all the Celestian prophecy books there, all the time life books. We had some amazing Newton books, the reincarnation. Bosch is a really great one as well with reincarnation. And so my mom and I, we were just devouring these books together.
Isn't that neat? Isn't that cool? So just
so
more and more connections.
Yep. So as to bring this back for Raising Starseeds, this is what one of the missions of the parents is, you know, Heidi and I's mom, we had the materials there in our house that helped us to kind of ground and bring us that memory in on a deep soul level. And then just like we as moms and we had children and again, it's each generation taking it to the next level, you know. So my mom had the books. So then I was able to do that. My children were born with completely awake. And so just like you had the night terrors, I also had the night terrors. But if it wasn't for the background of all the reading that I was doing, trying to help myself, just like my mom was trying to figure herself out and help her, I was trying to read and figure out my life as well, because I had the galactics and I had the spirit. Like we had a very active house and I could hear spirit talking in the house. And I was very open about it all growing up with my friends at school. I've always been very vocal. Like my 6th grade research paper was the world's greatest mysteries. And it was all about UFOs and the Bermuda Triangle and the Loch Ness Monster. So, and you know, my senior year, for speech class, I didn't realize that I had a 15-minute speech due. And my friends were like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm just going to talk about aliens. Like, whatever. I can get up and just talk for days about this. So, but you know, it was when my oldest and then my middle, the conversations that they would start having in the morning of their past life memories coming through. My oldest, when she was 2.5, she looked at me and she said, I was sitting on the couch. She was sitting at the kitchen counter and she just looked at me and she said, "Thank you for giving me my special eyes." And, you know, I kind of was, you know, like, what? And she said, "Thank you for giving me my special eyes. God and I chose you to be my mom because we knew that you would understand my special eyes." And then she said, she's 2.5. Then she said, And then she went back, had another bite of cereal. And then she looked at me and she said, I'm going to bring heaven to earth.
Oh, jeez.
So these are the kids that are coming here. They're coming here with this knowingness of what they're supposed to do. And it's our job as the parents to create that environment and to be bringing forth, which, Heidi and I, we're gonna start bringing in the classrooms. We're gonna bring in classrooms.
Let's explain that. Yeah, but literally, it's going to be a little day of our classroom just for them, and led by different teachers, people that you will see and meet on here and get familiar with. And it's going to be weekly as well. I think that's important. Give them their little tools for their toolboxes.
Absolutely, because it is, and because again, it's until they are presented with the information, they really have these emotions inside and these thoughts and these memories, and they don't really know what to do with them. Right. I didn't know that I was a starseed until I had read it. And they're right, listing it, because we're always trying to figure out, who are we? Like, what are we? Where do we come from? And I've always thought the mere fact that we ask those questions shows us that we don't come from here.
Yeah.
Shows us there are multiple levels. And I always, joke for, if you ever want to red pill anybody as to the belief that we do come from other planets and there is life here and we have past lives, just look at the top grossing movies. What are the top grossing global movies? Avatar, Star Wars, the Avengers, Endgame, all of those. We know those movies resonate on such a deep soul level. Everyone, Star Wars is the Orion Wars. It's a documentary.
Yeah. It's a documentary, 100%.
100%. And, sometimes I've already met 2 I know for sure that I knew in the Orion Wars. And they both know who they are. But I just walked up to them and they started morphing and changing how I remember they looked the last time. So I wasn't reading them. This was just me. And I was getting a memory. And so I got the whole kind of backstory. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've known them since then. And wow, we're like back together again. So
that's so beautiful. Knowing this, is it power or just missions? Knowing that we're all coming from this sense of place, isn't that make it even that much more, those bad guys, that they're really trying to smother us, poisoning our food, our air, our planet, television, our eyes. Like, look at all these things they're doing. It helped me project myself out of that matrix living much faster because I was bitter. I was like, hey man, you're making this really difficult to be amazing. And so it's like, and now with this blip, this 18th month blip, it's like the darker arcanic forces are trying to prevent anyone from remembering who they are. And but it's happening too fast. Sorry, man. And now you got Raising Starseeds to mess with, or not mess with.
I know, and during this time, you see how hard they're coming after the children.
Yes, in so many facets, in so many realms and ways.
And and we've seen in the past just 2 weekends alone, packed out college campuses for football games. You see all the people at the Emmys and the award shows all packed in there, no masks, nothing. Music concerts. That one concert in Chicago, 700,000 people showed up for before school started. Nothing. No social distancing, nothing. Kids in school, distance masked.
It's
and then kids because they know this. They know that these rainbow children, these crystalline children are here.
Yeah, they really do.
They know this. That has even come channeled to me. They know this.
Yeah. So we have to protect them more than ever.
And that is our job. And just like you had to bring in the protection with your children, I also had to work when that started happening with my daughter and the night terrors. It was all right. Like it literally activated me.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I always viewed it as, this is my little secret world, my little secret life. No one really knew about it outside of my husband and obviously my family, but nobody knew about it. because, and that's why I always read and I always researched, because I was just trying to figure out my life. And then I started seeing it to my children, but to like the 10th degree. And honestly, it was seeing it through their eyes that made me realize, okay, I have to get my house in order.
Yes.
Because my abilities were also bringing in these aspects for my kids. So this is, you know, what these children are bringing in for us. Okay, I lost you there for a minute. So yeah, so, you know, it was because of their abilities, it was bringing in the house, bringing in the protection. Okay, now I need to really take this more seriously. And we had all those years, both you and I, all those years of reading those books and research, and then also digging further into ourselves.
Yeah. It just flooding back. And then I realized I've known this all along. You know, it's like, wow, look at what the elements, what obstacles kept coming my way just to prevent me from waking up. It's like, whoa, I see what they did there. So yeah, there's no turning back at all.
Yeah. And, you know, and I want to take this time now because we're so excited. Next week, we're going to have Laura Van Tyne on the show. And we're so excited. We both love Laura, and she's going to come in and she's going to talk with us and explain different ways that we can bring in this protection, because so many parents are having, we're going to call them events in their home and with their children. So it is more important than ever right now, because there is almost a screeching coming from the lower dimensionals, because their window is starting to close and they are really coming after us. So it's more vital than ever that we're bringing in and protecting not just our home, but the bedrooms and the mirrors. The mirrors is a big one for me. You know, I can never have more than 2 mirrors in one room. I can't tell you how many times I've had to close down portals that just keep opening in the windows. And, you know, yeah, my kids.
I used to host gatherings and like meditations and all these guest speakers and what have you. And my living room, one woman walked in and she's like, "What are you doing in here?" And here I thought it was like feng shuiing and bouncing the light around so everyone would look cute. She's like, she goes, "You have to," she brought some stickers for me and she goes, "These are portals and just doesn't feel good." Like the biological kept trying to come in. Yeah. So I literally wrote with my eyeliner highlight words on the mirrors, and then I'd always put a plant in front, or if it's a bed, you know, drape a piece of clothing, or you just want to cut off that mirror a little bit, right? I think that's important because a lot of people don't realize that they have all these all over their rooms. They think they're getting this divine light, or those floor to ceiling mirrors people put next to their bed. Like, oh. You just want to paint it.
My rule is always never more than 1 mirror in a room, because they literally just ping off each other and they will just open portals. So never more than 1 in one room. And also it's really important because energy can get stuck in a house. So, you know, when I'm in a room and I'm feeling, okay, this is where a lot of energy comes in and a lot of things are happening. If you can have something circular in that room, whether it be like a little circular chandelier, you could even take a sheet of paper and cut it into one of those little spirals. But energy needs to see that motion to help it flow out, because energy can get stuck in these tight corners.
Ah, that makes sense too. So this just reminds me of kind of like what we started doing as a nighttime routine for my son. And he sleeps amazing now. But yeah, we'd even clap in the corners, or I'd sage it out a little bit. And then we got some copper wiring and made a little copper pyramid over his bed with some of his favorite crystals under it. But yeah, there would be some nights that are just heavier than others. And I'm like, well, let's go clear your room. Like, let's go clean it out. And, you know, all those tools. So that's part of in the classroom. We're going to teach kids and parents this kind of stuff.
Because, you know, I always say we as parents, we want to do everything for our kids. It's just our natural inclination. Like, I'll just handle it. I'll handle it. If your child is gifted and they're open, you need to have the child be a part of this, because this is about empowering them, because these are abilities that aren't going to go away in their lifetime. So we're going to be bringing in the tools. So work with your children when you're clearing out these. You know, when I'm doing protection work in the room, sometimes I'll go in there first, kind of set the stage, and then I have my kids come in towards the end to help seal it.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's, you know, it's good bringing your kids, and every so often I'll say, hey, room check, like how's everything feeling? Do we need to put in a little bit more protection? And, you know, we even have sound bowls, anything, you know, get that frequency in there. And, you know, I'll do some singing, some angelic singing. And again, it's not like, oh, she's giving angelic singing. Just start doing it. And one thing is to just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no right way or wrong way, and
Exactly.
just go. If you're feeling moved to do something in a space, just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's aren't, like, you know, rights and wrongs. It's the heart intention. If the intention is right, then, you know, it'll just work.
And I truly believe when you're connected and when you're cleared out and clear yourself and your boundaries, you'll get the right thing to do. You can even ask your team, like, come through, you know, show me what to do in this moment. What's the best thing to do right now? I was guided not long ago. We started the binaural beats at bedtime, and we're doing the old trauma release stuff. And they wake up just like, hey, I'm like, we're releasing some old stuff. I love it.
Yep. Yeah. You
All
know,
these little bits and things.
and, you know, and we're always kind of doing something a little different. You know, that's important to, you know, change it up every now and then.
Yeah.
You know, some things are happening with my son. We needed to kind of like really up our game for protection, because we had a little reptile show up in his room one evening and made our whole entire house smell awful. And so yeah, that was some serious clearing. And I actually had a brand new species race come in and help me. I didn't even ask for it. I was in there literally putting in copper along the walls, and I don't know what this even was. They were like these tribal moves that were being showed to me, like putting almost like this light symbols into the space, but moving it through my body. And then all of a sudden these two beings walked in, and they had like this little cloak on them, and they're like shorter, but they said, we need to build plasma walls. And I said, I don't know how to do that. And they said, well, we're here, we're going to help you. And so they helped me build these, and they said, okay, now we need to go to this room and do a plasma wall. And everything was cleared out for the longest time. So, you know, is just open yourself up. And again, like, change it out, shift it out. I have, you know, different dimensional beings coming in for different things for protection. So it's not like a one-stop shop, one thing is going to work. So you just have to feel out what's right for you guys.
Makes sense.
Yep. And especially if you move. We moved into this new house. It'll be almost a year. And we're here for about 2 weeks. Then all of a sudden I saw this energy, like this little like ball of energy come in through my back door. And it was like zipping. It was like zipping the different rooms, and it looked kind of like the Lorax. It was like orangey, but it was just like this orb ball, but it had this really heightened energy. I'm like, what are you? And they said, I'm a land guardian, and I'm just checking you out to see like what you are, how you feel in this space, because this space we're at is very protected, very, very protected. And so, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's really sweet.
So it's something that was a new experience I wasn't expecting.
That's awesome.
Yep. So
I think the land guardians in the valley here are getting exhausted. They're like, can you move to some trees, please?
It's so funny.
But we're finding the others. I know, we gave some backstory of ourselves. We're specific about talked about what Starseed is and our mission, and
again, so excited about the classroom that we're going to be coming. Those are going to be on Wednesdays. So we, you know, because it's for the kids, we're going to make those about 20-25 minutes. But yeah, those will be our classroom days, and then Sundays, these will be our sit down interview days.
Awesome. Are we airing that first one this Wednesday, or will it be next Wednesday?
I'm thinking possibly maybe this Wednesday. So.
Yeah, let's get it going. And this first one has to do a lot with the breath work.
The breath work, yes.
So thank you, everybody, for being here. I guess it's kind of naturally winding down, isn't it?
We're just going to flow with it. Yep. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. And again, we have Laura Van Tyne coming up, and we have Starseeds in the classroom.
I love it. And thank you for those taking the time to chat in our little Telegram chat room. There's a community growing. There are some parents and families trying to find the others. So if you find that you're not finding the others where you live, maybe check in and see if you can find some community members.
Absolutely. Yep. And as always, you know, if there's something that you guys would love to see covered, please leave it in the comments. We would love to have the comments as we are bringing in the material.
Yay.
So, all right. We'll see
Thank
you
you
guys
for
next
the
Sunday.
chat.
Yes.
We'll see you all next Sunday, and we'll see you soon, Abby.
Okay. Bye.